In a world ruled by deception, one man vows to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. You think you can hide from me? For Detective Marlowe, the hunt is personal. This city has no room for secrets. Why are you doing this? Because I know the truth, but as the walls close in, the hunter becomes the hunted. How far will I go to destroy myself? This January, truth has a price. The morning sun barely pierced the thick, grimy blinds of Marlowe's cluttered office. Piles of disorganized files sat in haphazard stacks, and a stale cloud of cigarette smoke lingered, saturating the air with bitterness. Marlowe's hunched figure was illuminated only by the flickering light of his desk lamp. The lines on his face had deepened in recent weeks, and dark shadows encircled his eyes, betraying countless sleepless nights. He'd spent hours poring over his notes, scrutinizing every lead, every name, every piece of evidence. And yet, it all felt like chasing ghosts. The sharp rap of knuckles against wood startled him. Marlowe's head snapped up, his cigarette dangling precariously from his lips. Before he could respond, the door creaked open. Framed in the doorway stood Commissioner Harold Graves, his commanding presence filling the small, suffocating room. Graves was an imposing figure with sharp, calculating eyes and an expression perpetually teetering between stern and weary. His salt and pepper hair was neatly combed, his suit immaculate, a sharp contrast to Marlowe's disheveled appearance. "Detective Marlowe," Graves said in a measured tone, closing the door behind him. He surveyed the chaotic room with a faint curl of distaste. "We need to have a conversation." Marlowe gestured toward the chair across from his desk. But Graves didn't sit. Instead, he clasped his hands behind his back and remained standing, his gaze fixed on Marlowe. "I've been monitoring your investigation," Graves began, his voice even, but carrying an edge that brooked no interruption. "Your activities have stirred quite the hornet's nest. Protests, media scrutiny, political pressure. You've made enemies, Marlowe. Powerful ones." Marlowe stubbed out his cigarette, leaning back in his chair. "I'm doing my job, sir. Exposing corruption. Protecting society." Graves sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. "Don't give me the righteous act, Marlowe. This isn't about justice, it's about optics. The department is bleeding credibility, and you're the wound that's festering. But the higher-ups think you're salvageable." From his coat pocket, Graves pulled out a manila envelope and placed it deliberately on Marlowe's desk. It was pristine, the kind of envelope that promised clean slates and hidden agendas. "What's this?" Marlowe asked, suspicion thick in his voice. Graves finally sat leaning forward. "A lifeline. They're offering you a way out. A promotion to the Bureau. Better pay, better resources, and a fresh start far away from this mess. All you have to do is walk away from this case. Drop it." The words hung in the air, cold and heavy. Marlowe stared at the envelope, his thoughts racing. He could almost feel the weight of it. The promise of prestige, power, and escape from the relentless toll his crusade had taken. But beneath it all, a familiar anger simmered. "They want me to look the other way," Marlowe said, his voice low and laced with venom. "To let them get away with it." Graves' expression hardened. "They want to protect the department and keep the peace. Your obsession is causing collateral damage, and it's time to let it go. This is a gift, Marlowe. Take it." Marlowe leaned forward, his gaze burning into Graves, And what happens if I don't? Graves exhaled slowly, his tone turning icy. Then you're on your own. No backup, no resources, no support from the department. You'll be walking a very fine line. And when you fall, no one will be there to catch you. Marlowe picked up the envelope, turning it over in his hands. The temptation was palpable. He thought of the sleepless nights, the strain on his mind, the growing isolation. He thought of the faces of those he'd pursued and the price they'd paid. And then he thought of Adrian and Caleb, of the shattered lives left in his wake. He dropped the envelope back on the desk with a sharp thud. "Tell your bosses I'm not for sale." Graves's jaw tightened, his expression unreadable. "You're making a mistake, Marlowe. This crusade of yours will destroy you. Walk away while you still can." "I'm not walking away from justice," Marlowe shot back. "Not now, not ever." Graves rose, his movements stiff with suppressed frustration. "So be it. But remember this moment, Marlowe. When everything falls apart, you'll have no one to blame but yourself." He turned on his heel and strode out, leaving the door ajar. Marlowe sat in silence, the echo of Graves's words reverberating in the room. For the first time, he felt the true weight of his isolation. Yet, even as doubt crept at the edges of his resolve, his anger burned brighter. The days that followed were fraught with tension. Word of the offer spread through the precinct, fueling whispers and sidelong glances. Marlowe's colleagues avoided him, their unease palpable. His partner, Detective Lewis, confronted him one evening as they packed up for the day. "I heard about the deal," Lewis said, his tone cautious. "Why didn't you take it?" Marlowe's response was curt. "Because I'm not a coward." Lewis shook his head, his frustration evident. "This isn't about bravery, Marlowe. It's about survival. You're playing with fire, and you're dragging the rest of us into the flames." Marlowe didn't respond, his silence a wall between them. Lewis sighed, grabbing his coat and heading for the door. "Just don't expect me to bail you out when it all comes crashing down." Left alone, Marlowe felt the weight of his choices pressing down on him. But instead of relenting, he doubled down. His investigations grew more aggressive, his methods more unorthodox. The tension with his colleagues only fueled his determination, pushing him further into the abyss. Late one night, as Marlowe pored over his notes, a sudden crash shattered the silence. He jumped to his feet, his hand instinctively reaching for his gun. A brick lay on the floor amidst shattered glass, a note tied to it with rough twine. Unfolding the paper, he read the scrawled words, "Stop now, or you'll regret it." Marlowe's grip tightened, his jaw clenching. He scanned the darkened street below, but saw nothing. The shadows seemed deeper, the air heavier. He was no stranger to threats, but this one felt different, personal, immediate. For the first time, a flicker of unease wormed its way into his mind. The war he'd waged was spiraling out of control, and the line between hunter and hunted blurred. As he stared into the darkness, he couldn't shake the feeling that unseen eyes were watching, waiting. And for the first time, Marlowe wondered if he'd already gone too far. Want to know what happens next? I won't spoil it for you here. You can dive into the full story in this amazing ebook. It's packed with twists, suspense, and a conclusion that will blow your mind. The full story is waiting for you. Just click the link pinned in the comments section and grab your copy. You'll be glad you did. So, what are you waiting for? Unlock the full adventure now. and let me know what you think of the ending. It's unforgettable, and that's where this episode ends. But trust me, the story is just getting started. In the next part, things take an unexpected turn, and secrets you never saw coming will be revealed. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, so you're the first to catch the next episode. And if you're as hooked as I am, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Got any theories or guesses about what might happen next? Share them, I'd love to hear them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of The Gay Hunter. Until then, stay curious and stay tuned.